Do you support Trump?
2000%.
Okay. And if you could go back in time, you could either vote for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. Who would you rather vote for?
Man, I could go back in time over and over and still vote for Trump.
Okay. Why do you support Trump?
Well, I mean, look at what he's been able to do. Look at, for instance, what was it just last week? They found $31 billion in additional income from just the tariffs. Now, even though that is the business owners or alleged business owners, I guess you could say that are importing the goods that are paying the tariffs, it's still, if you would agree, it's still essentially taxing the rich. So doesn't that like completely correlate with your entire ideology that the rich should pay more taxes? Well, effectively under the current tariff plan, that's exactly what's happening.
No, actually, under the current tariff plan, disproportionately lower and middle income individuals spend a greater proportion of their income on consumer products. So if there's an increase in the cost of consumer products because it passes down to the consumer, well, then that's going to negatively impact middle and lower income individuals to a greater extent who disproportionately were not being taxed prior because of how income tax is set up. Whereas Donald Trump's policy specifically, by reducing income tax, disproportionately gives most of the tax cuts to people who are rich.
No, so like for instance, if you look at the tariffs, like you can say sure that the price gets passed down, but so does inflation. I mean, inflation is a real thing. No matter what, we're seeing a rise in inflation year after year. The current rate of inflation is less than it was under Joe Biden. So then you're saying that like, oh well, we're having a higher cost. Like, well, actually, it's the complete opposite. Not only are we taxing the individuals with the money that are bringing these goods into the country to be resold here, they are also disproportionately the wealthier part of the country. I mean, if you have the money to import goods from China or Pakistan or wherever you're importing these goods from, you obviously have some funds available to you. With that being said, the money that they are paying via those tariffs are going to have a direct impact on what those that are making under that threshold are paying in taxes.
So importing a product does not mean you're necessarily rich. Secondly, this idea that we're taxing people who are disproportionately rich by imposing tariffs is also a ridiculous idea because you're taxing cost of production and distribution, which inevitably will get passed down to the consumer to a greater extent. Whereas with income tax, right, that's not taxing the lowest income in Americans because of standard deduction, but tariffs will be taxing those Americans and increase consumer products. Inflation has gone up since Trump got in office, comparative to what it was the end of the Biden-Harris administration, and it was specifically due to Donald Trump's tariff policy that is leading to this. Whereas under the Biden-Harris administration, the inflation that we saw was due to global inflation based upon supply chain issues resulting from the pandemic, and not because of the Biden-Harris administration policy.
Yeah, no, I completely disagree. I mean, if we look at the current rate of inflation right now, it's like, what, 3 point something percent. Under Joe Biden, it was over 4%. So I mean,
No, it
to,
was
to
three. It
say that
was
we
three
haven't
percent
seen,
when he left. It was 3% when he left, and it's a bit over 3% now.
I mean, I don't have the data in front of me, so let's just take it
I do.
for what
The
it is.
bureau.
So
It's
you're
from the
saying that
Bureau of
the
Labor
entire,
Statistics.
so you're saying that the average of Joe Biden's inflation rate was 3%. Is that what you're saying?
No, I said at the very end of the administration because I did
Oh, okay,
acknowledge that there
got
was
you.
a
So
higher level of inflation under the Biden Harris administration in the prior years, but not because of the Biden Harris administration policy, but because of the supply chain issues relating to the pandemic that affected global inflation. So I don't think that the Biden Harris administration policy was the cause of that because it happened globally.
no, but you would put that blame on Donald Trump if it would have happened under his authoritarian, right? You would say, oh well,
No,
that's
I
Donald
wouldn't.
Trump's fault because of X, Y, Z. Sure, you
No,
would.
no, I wouldn't, because again, that would be based upon things that impacted the entire world, which is not happening right now. And we know that Donald Trump imposed tariffs, which have inflationary pressure, because I understand how tariffs work.
Are you familiar with who, when, and why tariffs were implemented in the first place here in the United States?
I do, and I think that they historically speaking didn't work. If you're referencing the times like in like the 1800s and the Gilded Age, if you're trying to reference the level of tariffs we had as like a mechanism to like say that we could redo that today, that makes no sense because we didn't have Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, we didn't have food stamps, we didn't have any of these programs that people rely on today. So we wouldn't actually have a mechanism to fund it to the same degree.
Yeah, but again though, there of course we wouldn't have the same mechanisms in order to 100% fund the same way. But if you would look back in time and see, okay, well, why were tariffs implemented in the first place? Well, they were implemented because people were importing in mass numbers and things such as tobacco and tea products that could have been grown here locally, right? And then so they said, okay, well, if you're going to import this product rather than paying those of us who are making this product here, then you're going to have to pay a higher price in order to do so. So that way, the people that are here in the same industries have a fighting chance to at least produce profitable business. I don't know if you have you ever heard of the term decent business done decently? You're an economics major. I'm sure you've heard that reference before.
Yeah, I've heard that, but I don't think that this is going to create better
So
conditions. I do think that like if we have a tariff imposed, it's going to cause the cost of production to increase, not only for American producers, but also bringing in products from other countries around the world. So I think that
so
costs go up across the board, and I don't think it creates better conditions for us. If you want to do targeted tariffs, I don't really have an issue with specific targeted tariffs to build up specialized like industries in the United States. But to say that you want them across the board is just very bad. It's inflationary. It makes conditions worse for consumers. And if you want to reference historical ideas of tariffs, how do you feel about the Smoot-Hawley tariffs?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
The Smoot-Hawley tariffs, how do you feel about those?
I have no idea. I've never even heard
So
that
they were
reference.
implemented essentially like right before the Great Depression, and they were the essentially the precipice for the Great Depression, right? Like they created conditions in which made the Great Depression worse off.
Okay, so 100%. There was a lot of different things that factored in the Great Depression, but if we're looking at like today's standard of what exactly the tariffs mean for the country, well, it means that those, for instance, me as a business owner importing a product, right? Like the product that I import, now that I'm paying a tariff on that as a business owner, right? The entire ideology of lowering production cost no longer has anything to do with importation of the product from whatever particular country I was importing it from. Now my goal as a business owner is to source that product here in the country. So to say that, oh well, historically that's not accurate, that's completely incorrect, because historically we've seen that whenever tariffs were initially implemented, not only did we not even have an income tax at that point in time, but they did cover 99% of the
Wait.
cost
By the way, we did
that
it.
happened.
Wait. So let
We
let
did
me just
not have
clarify.
this. We did
When did
not have
income
it.
tax come into effect? What year?
I don't know the exact year. I can look it up for you if you would like.
Yeah, let me just clarify. 1913, right? And that's before 1930, right? So that's before the
Sure.
Smoot-Hawley tariffs. If you're referencing the tariffs that existed under the Gilded Age, that's not good. Especially because at that point in American history, there was lots of horizontal and vertical integration, and which led to vast monopolies, right? And tariffs decrease competition on a global stage. So tariffs actually would be to benefit those particular types of firms that want to stifle competition so that they can own more of the market. That is a
So
horrible mechanism to look
that's
at.
being preached by somebody like that. So for instance, like for me, like whenever you say that, you're like, for like let's take Amazon. Like Amazon has a clear what we would consider a monopoly. There's not very many people that are in that field. However, as an American citizen, I have the right to say, oh wait, I'm going to go buy a warehouse and I'm going to implement some robotic mechanisms in that warehouse to automate my process, and then now I'm going to compete directly with Amazon. Amazon didn't start off as one of the largest companies in the world. They started off selling books out of a garage. So to say like, oh well, you know this, like that's completely illogical. Everybody has the same opportunity to go be successful and to create wealth for themselves. It's just a matter of the mechanisms in which you choose to pursue that.
Okay, a few things here. So we can look at Bork's argument that was historically used, which doesn't apply to Amazon because they don't increase prices. So really, the only mechanism that where like historically we would limit monopolies through Bork's argument is if it led to like overall less social welfare. But because they keep the prices low, they're able to stay as a monopoly and then utilize their monopoly power in the marketplace in order to then increase costs for businesses on the other side, right? So essentially, they're still utilizing monopoly power, but they're able to get around, right, the arguments of antitrust that we've had, which is actually something that Lena Khan was talking about and addressing under the Biden-Harris administration. So if you support actually addressing that and being able to limit the impact of what's it called, a monopolization from companies like Amazon, well then you should support the Biden-Harris administration, right? And literally Lena Khan,
No, I don't, because I'm a realist. I see
a
realistic
realist. Okay,
expectation. 100%. You can't say that nobody in the world or nobody in the United States could go out right now and create an infrastructure in a company that would compete with Amazon. Now, it might not happen overnight, but with consistency, dedication, and decent business done decently, every single person in this country has the opportunity to
It's
create
no,
not only an
it's
asset.
realist to advocate for regulations that limit monopolization.
Okay, but again, though, there is no monopoly. So, okay, so you're saying
There's
that
no wait,
Amazon
so
has
Amazon
things. So
doesn't act
hold
as
on, hold on.
wait, so Amazon doesn't act
Let me
as a
finish. Let me
monopoly?
finish. How are they acting as a monopoly? Are they preventing you from going out? Do they have things in place that
It's
prevents
not in the
you from
consumer market. I
creating
just
a
told
very
you it's amongst
similar?
businesses on the other side of the perspective. That's what you're not
It's
understanding.
not.
Especially
It's the
because
it's the
wait, listen
perspective.
to this. This
It's
is
the
something
perspective of
Amazon does.
you.
Let me tell you and explain to you something Amazon does. They specifically, under their setup, they actually externalize costs onto third-party vendors, right, to see what specifically is going to sell the best, and then based upon whatever sells the best, they release their own Amazon Basics version, and then reduce the third party vendor onto a different part of their market, so that they can literally externalize costs and then internalize profits. Okay,
Okay,
that is a
that's a
mechanism from
business
a
model. That
monopoly
has nothing to
perspective
do.
that stifles
Now, how can
competition.
you explain to me how you can't go do that? Explain to me how you can't implement the same business structure.
Wait, okay. That's like arguing against
That's monopoly, bro.
wait, no.
Monopoly is
Listen.
somebody who
That's
creates
that.
a
Wait, hold
hold.
up.
No, monopoly is a
Stop.
hold.
That's like saying vertical and horizontal integration are okay because you can also vertically and horizontally integrate. That's a horrible argument.
No, it's not. So you're
Yes, it
saying that
is.
they have a
Wait, so then you
monopoly on
want
the
to get rid of
industry.
anti? Wait, do you want to get rid
They
of
have a monopoly on
antitrust?
the industry.
Wait, do you want to get rid of antitrust laws because you can just do the same monopoly practices as them?
Okay, so again, you're kind of moving the goalpost again.
Answer my
Whenever we're
question.
talking about a monopoly, what is a monopoly?
Answer my question before you ask me another.
Okay, repeat your question.
Do you know what I was talking about?
I mean, honestly, I was trying to get to my point where you keep bringing up sideline points just to try to off track the conversation because you
That
know
wasn't
the
a sideline
direction we're
point.
going.
So you're essentially saying there should be no antitrust law because you can engage in monopolistic practices just as the monopolies do themselves.
Okay, so again, a monopolistic category would assume that you have a hold on the industry, meaning that you're not allowing competition. There's something that you directly do that hinders other people from entering that workspace. There is nothing
I
that
just gave you
Amazon
an
has
example
done
of
that
Amazon
prevents.
doing that. I literally just gave you
There's
an
nothing.
example.
How does Amazon prevent you from entering that space? Explain that to me.
Yeah. So
Do they have some type of litigation that says that you can't go purchase a warehouse and create any form of distribution? No.
what they
Do
did,
they
like
have any website that? Go ahead. Go ahead. Let's hear your point there.
yeah. So there's a few things. One, they undercut the market because of the fact that they have a greater business structure to be able to do that. So undercutting allows for them to do so. Secondly, they also, like I said, externalize the costs and internalize the profits by saying that people on the market on Amazon can sell products up until essentially the point that they deem it's so profitable that they want to release their own Amazon Basics version, and then they literally reduce the place that they were on their platform to a lower place so that no one sees their product and they see the Amazon Basic product first so that they can internalize those profits.
Okay, so then if you don't like it, don't sell on their platform. That's not a monopoly. That's them using their platform to their best interest. That is
No,
any business 101. How to increase profit revenue and decrease cost. That is 100% within.
that's like you just arguing that any business is just going to do whatever monopolistic practice exists because it's the
Creative
profit
value.
maximizing condition. And what I'm telling you is that we want to limit that from happening because it stifles competition and leads to worse sets of circumstances, not only for consumers, but also for producers in the long run.
Well, then maybe move to Switzerland because that's not how a capitalist economy works.
Switzerland is capitalist. What are you talking about? And yes, it does. You understand capitalist economies have antitrust laws? That was such a
Bro,
ridiculous
what
argument for you
part?
to make. You
You're
think
not
that
you're not
capitalist
even
economies
creating an
don't have
argument for how
antitrust
it's.
laws?
You're not creating an.
He thinks capitalist economies don't have antitrust laws, dude. Take an
Bro, you're
economics
not
class.
creating an argument for how it's a monopoly. All you're saying is, oh, well, they have things inside of their business that makes it harder for people to compete with them inside of their own business. How does that
Yeah,
make
we're
sense?
telling you how monopolies exist today after Bork's argument, and antitrust laws have existed historically because antitrust laws were supposed to limit monopolization, but yet there's still aspects of monopolies and oligopolies that exist within the context of our system and reduce and stifle competition to benefit themselves, right? That's what I'm arguing about, and I'm saying
You
that
know, the best
antitrust laws need to apply that to that as well.
the best example of this would be Walmart versus Amazon. Before Amazon came out and is in full strive as it is today, Monopoly had a pretty big stronghold on that space. Now we're seeing more and more people are ordering their products off of Amazon rather than going to Walmart. How has it hurt Walmart's profitability? Sure. Has Walmart gone out of business? Absolutely not. Now, what has Walmart done since then? Well, they've created their own Walmart app that allows people to do very similar things as is done on Amazon. For instance, you can go on the Walmart app and purchase just about anything, even if things aren't sold by Walmart themselves, they are still available for purchase on the Walmart app. So explain to me how somebody who, again, has all of the same confines and rules and regulations as Amazon, who is literally direct in competition, how is that a monopoly? A monopoly is one person in an industry not allowing others to compete. There is plenty of competition. It's
No,
not a
that's actually
monopoly.
not how
You're
monopolies
just
are.
upset.
Because then you would
You're just
argue that there's
upset that
no.
you
Wait.
haven't come up.
Based on that definition, you'd argue no monopolies existed historically speaking because they didn't control 100% of each market. What are you talking about? Okay, monopolies. Okay, the way that we're using the term is going to be based upon concentration, right, of the level of industry within particular fields, which that concentration has becoming essentially becoming more prevalent, meaning that like there's going to be less competition. Okay, so heightened concentration has led to less competition. These type of monopolistic practices are leading to worse conditions in the market. You saying that there has to be this one specific definition of monopoly that just means one company controls everything is not how typically we use it in the context of economics. I'm telling you literally what I learned in my economics class. Okay? I'm not lying, I'm not making up something. I'm telling you literally what I learned in my economics class.
Okay, so let's use any example of business, right? So for instance, let's say telemarketing, right? There's huge sectors in the telemarketer space, Twilio, right? All kinds of people that pretty much own that industry, right? Now, there's several things that you cannot do if you get into the telemarketing field, such as you cannot become your own VoIP provider because people like Twilio have all of that space, right? So that means that in order to get regulatory abilities to even be able to be your own VoIP provider, you basically have to get approval through Twilio. Okay. Now that might be a little outside of like the economic realm. It's not something that is
Can I bring
common,
us back onto
right?
the topic?
But hold on. This is 100% on topic. Now, if when you're looking at a monopolized industry such as telemarketing, where there's only certain sectors that you can get into within that field and become your own entity, right? Because you're not going to go become a top tier VoIP provider. You're not going to do it, right? You have to go through a top tier VoIP provider, right? That has nothing to do with the same guidelines that you are putting on the alleged Amazon monopoly. There is no monopoly there. You are able to go tomorrow and purchase an old Walmart or Target building and do everything that Amazon is doing. You're just not doing it. So that I would argue that's not a monopoly. That's just failure to.
Again, your argument's stupid because then you could say that about every antitrust law. Okay, you can just horizontally integrate just as J.P. Morgan did. Just do the same thing. Just do the exact
Yeah,
same thing. Do the
yeah.
exact same thing. Just vertically integrate. Okay, do you understand that that still doesn't change the criteria of what exists? That if they vertically and horizontally integrate, that there then could be no competition at a certain point once they control everything. Because in order for you to get into the market, you'd have to buy from them. Okay? Do you
So then,
understand
how did
that?
Amazon make it with competition such as
Listen,
Amazon? I
because we
mean,
have
Walmart,
we
Target,
have antitrust laws, and the age of
eBay.
monopolies has changed to the conditions in the market that exist with the regulations. Okay, so the type of monopolies that exist today are different than the type of monopolies that have existed historically. But the argument you're providing is an argument to say that we shouldn't have any antitrust law. Okay, let me bring us back on the topic. Okay, because this is technically, I mean, I don't think even Donald Trump has talked about this. I don't even think he knows this is happening. He's economically illiterate. Okay, tell me like what you support of Donald Trump's economic policy, since we're talking about economics.
I mean, the big beautiful bill is a huge contribution to the economics of this country. Whenever we look at things such as the Child Tax Credit Act, the standard deduction increase, whenever we look at the 1032 exchange and the 1029s, there's so many different things that were incorporated to better the everyday life of the American citizen. The problem is we have people like you that say, "Oh, well, he's never done anything good," and the things that are good, you're just going to not bring them up, so that the people just continue this facade of, "Well, he's this terrible." Because
Hey,
in
dude,
a civil
I'm
court.
sorry. Shut up. You literally have devil horns on Kamala Harris as your profile picture. Shut the
Not
up,
true.
dude.
That is not true.
Shut the up, dude.
That's
Embarrassing.
not true. You just lied. That's not true. They're
Are those
ears.
not horns?
No, no, sir. They're ears.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. They're ears. Okay.
And
Um.
a hoof. Don't forget
What?
the
So,
hoof.
what? Why did you put ears on her?
I didn't.
Why'd you make that your profile picture?
Because it's a pretty accurate depiction
You're
of what the Democratic Party is.
no, and also like you're still
Jackass. Yeah,
like the
y'all
point. The
just
point's still
jackass.
true
Yeah,
that you're still mocking her, right?
sure. The same way that
Okay.
you mock Trump.
I don't have that as my profile picture, by the way. And also,
Okay.
like, I don't think that Kamala Harris is comparable to Donald Trump within that respect.
No, no,
But
no. I think she's
hold
far
up, hold up.
worse. She kept men
No,
in
that's
prison
ridiculous.
for
Let
no
me. No,
reason.
she's not.
Hid
She's not.
evidence.
Can I hold up? Stop. Let me address your points before you move on to a whole new argument. Can I do this real quick?
I mean,
You
you
brought
just
up the
asked
big
me
beautiful
my
bill. I
profile
want to
picture. I
respond
was
to
just
it.
telling you.
Okay. The big beautiful bill. You brought up the child tax credit, the standard deduction. What you're not referencing with this is that Kamala Harris wanted to keep all the tax cuts applicable to income earners under $400,000 a year, and she wanted to increase taxes on income over $400,000 a year, and she wanted to expand the child tax credit to an even greater extent than what existed under Trump. Under the TCJA, it went from 1,000 to 2,000, the child tax credit. Kamala Harris was advocating to increase it to $6,000 for the first year of a child's life, 3,600 through them being 5 years old, and 3,000 through them being 18.
Okay.
Okay, then why do you say that that's good for the average American when
Because
Donald
because
Trump's
she can say
policies?
that she's going to do everything. She also said that she wouldn't hide evidence, and she also said that she swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, while she also kept innocent men in prison. I mean, she can say whatever she wants. I don't believe her.
Okay, wait, when did she? But by the way, what you're referencing in terms of keeping innocent people, the evidence that you're referencing, that was evidence that didn't change the conviction. Okay, she thought she
It
would
overturned,
already
right? They were
listen.
not freed, right?
Listen, she thought she would already get a conviction without that evidence in the first place, which was true. They got a conviction, and then she literally changed her policy. She's like, okay, you know what? No matter what, I think we should have brought the policy up anyway. Okay, or not the policy, the evidence out anyway, even if we already thought we had enough to convict them. Okay, so one, you're making an irrelevant point. This is totally irrelevant to the argument about the tax policy. Okay, can we please talk about the tax policy? Okay, Donald Trump signs off on a tax policy that disproportionately benefits the rich. Kamala Harris wanted to keep all the tax cuts for income earners under $400,000 a year and wanted to increase tax on income earners over $400,000 a year, which would better conditions for working class Americans, reduce their taxes, and then also reduce the deficit and the debt.
I mean, it sounds good on paper, but whenever we look at what Donald Trump did, it's a far better tax credit. Whenever we look at where
No, that's wrong.
most of the taxes in this country come from, where do most of the taxes in this
Wait,
country come
what
from?
tax
Like
credit's better?
the wealthy pay for. I mean, did you not hear what? Are you going to let me finish or what?
I said,
Okay,
what
so
Trump tax credit's better?
I mean, all of them, every single one of them.
No, because again, Kamala Harris advocated to keep all the tax cuts applicable to income earners under $400,000 a year, and she wanted to expand the child tax credit even more than Trump. So,
Okay,
what tax
first of
credit
all,
are you
you're
referencing?
assuming that's completely ridiculous. Okay, it's ludicrous to say that.
No,
Oh,
it's
we're
not.
going to decrease all of the taxes for the people that make under 400K a year. The people that make
How?
over 400K
How?
a
If
year
wait,
are
if
the
we
ones
pass,
paying a
wait,
majority of the
wait,
taxes.
if we could pass the whole bill with all of those tax cuts for working class Americans and also tax cuts for rich Americans, why couldn't we pass the exact same bill but without the tax cuts for rich Americans?
A majority of the taxes.
Wait, answer my question. What the talk?
I just
How
did.
could we pass the tax plan that cuts taxes for lower income Americans and higher income Americans, but we couldn't do the same tax cut, but just removing the part that does tax cuts for the rich?
Let me ask you this: what's the standard deduction currently?
Can you answer my question before you ask me a separate one?
This is in direct correlation to your question. What is the standard deduction currently
Let me look.
under Trump?
Is it like 20,000, something like that?
I think
24,000?
it's 24,000. Now, what is the average
That's for
income of a
married. That's for
low?
married taxpayers. For single taxpayers, it's 12,000.
Okay, so what is the average income?
The average income,
Sorry, I called for me.
average or
What's the
median,
average income?
in personal or
Median income.
household?
What's the median income?
Median personal income.
Hmm.
Um, this goes up to 2024. About 45,000.
Okay. So now, married couples, right? Let's say that one works, one don't, or let's say they both work, whatever it is, right? They're all automatically able to deduct $24,000. Now, single household incomes are able to
Wait, this is
deduct
personal income.
$12,000.
Wait, this is
So
not household
double.
income.
Hold on.
Stop. This is personal income, not household income.
Did you not hear what I said of like whenever you take the married example and then we take the personal example,
So
right?
reference the personal. So the standard deduction is
Well, I
twelve thousand
referenced both.
dollars,
That's fine.
and the
Okay,
median
so let's
income
say
for
just one,
personal income
12,000,
is
right? So
45,000.
$40,000 minus 12,000, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
now you're only getting taxed at what percent? You take that $40,000 number, you minus that 12,000, right? That brings you to what? Come on, do
That
some math.
33,000.
Okay, fantastic. Now, what tax bracket does that put them in?
Probably the first tax bracket.
Holy. So you're saying that they are actually saving money on taxes due to Donald Trump? Holy. They're paying less in taxes than they were before. You see, you take everything at like such a.
One, you didn't compare the different standard deductions. Two, Kamala Harris wants to keep all the tax cuts for income earners under $400,000 a year, which would include the standard deduction. Are you not listening to me, dude?
No. No. Donald Trump increased the standard deduction. Are you just blind to the facts?
Wait, say that again.
Donald Trump increased the standard deduction.
How
That did
much?
not happen under Kamala Harris.
And
I think
wait,
he doubled it.
let me check. What was standard deduction under Obama? Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
to say like that he's
So
not
so
doing
pause,
anything for
pause,
the
pause,
country is
pause,
crazy.
pause, pause, pause. I never said he did nothing. I just am acknowledging that the tax cuts would be applicable to income earners under $400,000 a year. Okay? That all of those tax cuts, Kamala Harris would have kept, which includes the standard deduction. And then she also wanted to expand the child tax credit, which would have given more tax cuts. So I never said Donald Trump did nothing for the tax policy. I just said everything that Donald Trump did for working class Americans, Kamala Harris would do even more.